Good evening, board members and Dr. Foos, or excuse me, Ms. Wise. My name is Danny Mackey. I've criticized this board before and I continue to hope that things will improve. However, what happened at the last public forum sunk to a new and disappointing low. At the last meeting, Mike Smith was allowed to speak for 4 minutes and 28 seconds, during which he speculated and made outrageous assumptions regarding Mrs. Valancourt's lawsuit against her private disability insurance provider. This testimony was a violation of several board policies, the equivalent of slander, and should have been stopped by the chair. I did not come today to talk about how unprofessional it was for Mike Smith, an attorney, to use his occupation to comment on a lawsuit in which he is completely uninvolved, though unprofessional it was. I did not come to call into question the process by which Mr. Smith was made aware of the lawsuit, though I do have questions on that topic. I did not come to discuss at length the connections Mr. Smith has to the chair of this board, though when I email you Mr. Smith and Mrs. O'Connor's campaign statements from 2014, you will find they are identical. I wish I didn't have to keep coming here and publicizing your mistakes and inappropriate behavior on the record. But just as it was Chairwoman O'Connor's duty to stop Mike Smith's disgraceful testimony last week, I feel it is my duty to hold this body accountable on behalf of the people of Howard County. Perhaps the most horrifying aspect of Mr. Smith's testimony was toward the end, when he insinuated that because Mrs. Valancourt appeared healthy, she may be mentally ill, calling into question her judgment and the safety of Howard County students. This claim should have been struck down by the chair immediately, and leads me to why I came today to speak about mental health. In an educational environment that becomes more stressful year after year and where bullying is still a prevalent problem leading to depression and anxiety in our students, the importance of mental health awareness is paramount. How many students could have seen that testimony and been driven further away from seeking help for fear of judgment from peers or even school system employees? As I finish the rest of my roughly 4.5-minute testimony, I would like to speak to anyone watching from home, anyone of any age, but particularly those who know that they are struggling mentally and are afraid to seek help. It's the 21st century. We need to start talking about mental health like any other illness. A broken bone, a torn ACL, ADHD, anxiety, depression. None of these are any less legitimate than any other, and anyone telling you otherwise is wrong. For every one person who may judge you for having a mental illness, there are tens, likely hundreds, or maybe thousands who will be relieved you have sought help and be supportive of whatever your recovery process may be. Less than 1 year ago, and less than 1 month before my first testimony to this board, I was suffering from crippling anxiety and depression for months. The scariest part, nobody knew. Seeking help for mental health seems scary, like you're admitting there is something wrong with you. I may have never sought help had it not been for loved ones eventually noticing as they detected gaps in my armor of acting like everything was fine. 8 months later, I thank God that I got in therapy and in talking with family members and friends about their own struggles with mental health, realizing that many of us struggle. Hardly shocking when you look at the stresses of today's world.
You've reached a 3-minute limit.
Yes, ma'am.
Finish up, please.
I'm wrapping up. I will struggle and probably always will, but coping mechanisms taught through therapy can go a long way, and though I have not needed medication, these can be life-changing in fighting mental illness. There is a right method of help for everyone. Students and community members, you can tell if you aren't as happy as you're supposed to be. Life is supposed to be fun.
Up? I'm sorry, you're going to have to stop.
Due respect, Mr. O'Connor, if you're going to allow Mr.
No,
Smith.
it was the microphone wasn't working. I'm not going to argue about it. You'll have to stop your remarks now. Thank you.
I'm speaking about an important issue, speaking to students who need help, and I need to hear this message.
We have your testimony. Thank you.
No, they're not going to hear the written testimony I gave you, Mrs. O'Connor. You will allow me to finish.
I'm sorry. Your time's up.
Students and community members, you are the first to notice any.
Next is Colleen Morris, but I'm sure she's not going to go, so it's okay.
The first to feel the pain of being mentally ill.
So,
to any and all who know what I'm talking about and are afraid to seek help, know that you have a friend not
thanks,
only
Mr.
in
Mackey.
but in your friends, family, and community. Take care of your mind. It is your most valuable asset. If your homework has you stressed to breaking point, speak up. If you are constantly feeling down because of a bully at school or any other reason at all, please say something. Resources exist to help get you better. I look forward to continuing to advocate for mental health awareness with a Board of Education that understands the gravity of our collective fight. Thank you and God bless you.
Colleen Morris is next.